And we are live. Welcome to the Nilvah Nexus. James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com. This is a weekly hangout on Google Plus, the longest running and apparently not the only. And we've got some Skype hangouts that have been going on. I've noticed Bob here, he was in one, which is really interesting. I didn't get to finish it. But we do this every Thursday night here on Google Plus. If you're viewing and you like what you see and you want to see more, go to the Nilvah Nexus for the Idol Smasher Facebook page. And we've got every Nilvah Nexus, Noahide Nexus, Noahide Nexus, Noah's Nest, all the hangouts we've been doing here. If you like what we're doing, feel free to join by emailing me once again, James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com, and be sure to check out our Facebook page, the Nilvah Nexus. And if you're joined up there, we'll get you on the mailing list and get you in here and join in the conversation. We are in Parsha Naso this week. And topic of the week is Jewish law versus Noahide law. This is actually when I put the invite out and I had this title for it, I think it's something that would take much more study on my part, or I think anybody's part, to really be able to go through the Torah and just with the Chumesh alone, at least, find out where we're going in this. But it might strike up a good conversation now and then. But the reason I bring it up as a topic this week is because we always hear there are 7 laws for Gentiles, 613 for the Israelite, for the Jews. And Tovia Singer pretty much wrapped up, I think it was his latest or his next to latest video. It was at Nativ. I had it posted. He pretty much answered the whole thing there, but he was... so you can stop this and go watch Tovia Singer and probably get better. Yeah. But he said that, well, we have to understand that the Jews follow the 7-2, and he goes, and all the precepts with it. He said something like I think he went into like almost 100 or 200, of those precepts in Torah do apply to all people. So I thought we might take a look at that.
Cool.
Something to ponder. I'd always, and I say the Chumesh. I guess I'm going to make a confession here real quick since it's my hangout. I'm heading it up. Might as well have a couple minutes. I like a Chumesh. And maybe this is the old religion hanging on from 30 years ago, but there's something about having the Bible, the Torah, the written Torah, I find very comforting. When I get into Talmud, I get depressed. Talmud's just, I find it kind of depressing. And I shouldn't say that because, the Noahide code, or they all say, well, it's Talmudic, that's a Talmudic thing. And that's one of the big complaints a lot of Christians have. And you know what? I can't blame them. I can't blame them for saying, well, there's nothing, we don't find a Noahide code. We don't find 7 laws. We find 10 commandments. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff, but we don't find 7 laws. I can sympathize with that. I really can sympathize when you don't want to get into Talmud because it's big, it's cumbersome, it's heavy, it's excruciatingly complicated, and these are thinkers who write all this. I mean, these are some hair-splitting guys who wrote Torah, or wrote what's in Torah, the Talmud, and all the commentaries on top of it. You got Ravad, Rashi, the Rambam. It's just big and heavy and cumbersome and deep, and maybe I'm just stupid and Starberry Blonde, but I have a tendency to like the Bible. It's much easier for me to grab a hold of. As complicated as the house of the eternal, if you will, this text is. I'm much more comfortable looking in the Chumash first. Then I'll go to commentary, or if I have a question like God says about the slaughter, as I have shown you, then you're going to have to go outside. You're going to have to go to the Israelite to learn the old Torah. I think it's just easier, as for me anyway, if we can find it in the Chumash first. I've taken a new love of the Chumash in the past few months, because I try to get into reading, and if I find one thing in common, you're talking with somebody that doesn't have anything to do with that because of this, and I never read that before. It's just this big, huge weight. Great for spicing up Torah reading, in my opinion. Great for explaining things, but it's hard for me to rely on Talmud and commentary.
Oh yeah.
Hello, Gav. Shalom. Shalom, shalom.
How's the baby and the wife?
They're doing good, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, one thing I got to find out where I put it. There's the Nazarite, which is an interesting topic in and of itself. You could if we looked at it on a very base level, like a college level, could we say that the Nazarite is the Jewish equivalent to a monk?
That's fair.
Yeah. But if we know anything about Torah and the Jewish people, they're not like anything else, but yet there are Nazarites in this week's Parsha. There is something I wanted to bring up about a crime with the ger, the proselyte. Hang on a minute. I haven't read this recently. I was in it earlier. Oh, where is that? We'll start on page 1. Gershon's responsibilities. Gershon's responsibilities. Merari's responsibilities. Where is that? The purification of the camp. Theft from a Jew and from a proselyte. Okay. This is what I was like, ooh, this would be a good topic. And like I said, if we're going to look at the differences and where they are, it's probably best to just do it on your own. I don't know how well. I don't know. I'm a fool. I really don't know. But I thought I'd read this. Spoke to Moses. This is, by the way, I can tell you where I'm at. Numbers, Bamidbar. We're in Numbers chapter 5. We're going to read verse 5 through verse 10. The heading under this was the theft from a Jew and from a Gentile. So I didn't get into it. We're going to check it out now, and we'll find out what's the difference. How does Torah handle it? Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, or a woman who commits any of man's sins by committing treachery towards Hashem, and that person shall become guilty. They shall confess their sin that they committed. He shall make restitution for his guilt in its principal amount, and adds a fifth to it, and give it to the one to whom he has indebted. If a man has no kinsman to whom the debt can be returned, the returned debt is for Hashem, for the Cohen, aside from the ram of atonement with which he shall provide him atonement." And every portion from any of the holies. I'd never seen that. Yeah. And every portion from any of the holies that the children of Israel bring to the Cohen shall be his. A man's holies shall be his, and what a man gives to the Cohen shall be his. I wonder why they say proselyte. Is this a generic man or woman? Is it 6?
I think that's a reference to the person who does not have a. Where was it again? If the man has no redeemer, relative, to whom the debt may be returned. So the person who has no redeemer, who would have no redeemer? If the person doesn't, if the person's owed money and he's supposed to collect this extra fine, this 1/5, then normally the family would be able to go after this extra money. But if the person passes away and he doesn't have any family, so who doesn't have family?
The proselyte, the widow, the orphan.
Well, the widow and the orphan might have family, but the proselyte wouldn't.
Okay.
That's correct, because a proselyte is considered like born anew. Even their biological parents aren't really considered their parents anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Like there was a case not that before I moved in Cleveland. of a young boy who was given permission by the Beit Din to convert. The father was Jewish, the mother was not. So the father became religious later in life and left the mother, and the boy kind of went with him or whatever. In Jewish law, once he converts, she lost all rights to him. She's just not considered his mother anymore.
That's how.
So basically, a convert it's almost like they have no parents.
Wow.
Like being a nun.
Yeah, in a way.
So the same would go for the proselyte then.
Right.
Wow. That's special. I mean, that's wow. Yeah, there's commentary I could read if you like. This is from the Stone. Although I should get out my Sonsino because Pam's not here.
It would be interesting to know how the law of inheritance works for, let's say, a ger teshav. You know, that whether or not a ger teshav has a similar change, you know, cutting off from his family the same way a ger tzedek does.
I'm not sure. I mean, as far as I know, that's an unknown quantity. That's a good question. I'm going to do some research on that.
Yeah, especially if he was a slave. And then, you know, is alive or around or whatever when the Jubilee comes. That is a good question. I'm going to read the Stone Edition, Chumesh's general commentary from verse 6 through 8. The case here of someone committing treachery towards Hashem by unlawfully holding the money of a fellow Jew, a loan, a theft, overdue wages, and the like, and then compounding the sin by swearing falsely that he owes nothing. Ooh, okay. This passage, which appears in Leviticus 5:20 through 26, is repeated here in accordance with the rule that the Torah sometimes repeats a law in order to add something to it. There are two new features: the requirements to bring an offering and to make an additional payment to the victim, both of which are part of the atonement process, do not apply unless the thief voluntarily confesses his sin. And B, in the event the victim was a proselyte who died without heirs, what should be done with the money that is owed? This is all according to Rashi. The law regarding proselytes was especially relevant now that their status was extenuated by the organization of the tribes. Since proselytes not belonging to any of the 12 tribes encamped separately, the Torah now gives the law regarding theft of their property. That's the Ramban, Nachmanides. This passage also teaches that financial treachery toward a fellow Jew is tantamount to treachery against God himself, for he defends the defenseless. Ooh.
It's interesting about the proselytes encamping separately. Are they talking about at the time of Sinai where they're traveling? Because I know we've all seen the charts that show how the camp was laid out, and I've never seen a chart that shows the proselytes in there.
I heard they were the skin of Israel. They would basically be the border, which is kind of how I always pictured myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, out there somewhere, not too close, don't want to, but not too far. Don't want to get too far either. It's like, what was it? Here I go. I get a good idea. I don't remember which rabbi I was from this week. That the Gentile or the non-Jew, the Noahide, must make his place in Israel, that Israel doesn't set aside a place for them, that they have to make their own way, something like that. That, you know, the non-Jew doesn't, God's not going to set aside a place for you in the land. Save maybe a sanctuary city, that the proselyte would have to find his way, have to make his own place there. Do I have that backwards?
But that would imply the opposite of what the Rambam is saying here, is that, you know, the Rambam's saying that they had their own encampment. But the way I've always understood it is the way you're describing it, is that they're kind of scattered amongst the population, which would say that they don't have their own camp. They're kind of scattered. You know, so that's interesting that the Ramban is saying this.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you definitely have to have an interaction there. They have to be a part of it. We're the poor. Not really, no. Yeah, I wondered that until I looked at the commentary. Treachery against Hashem. So there's
I guess this is a case where a person goes to court. You know, let's say he owes someone $100, and he swears in front of the court that he doesn't owe the person $100. He's standing in front of the court, holding onto a Torah scroll, saying a prescribed swearing that he swears upon, with having his, with the Torah scroll, that he does not owe the $100. Then it turns out he does owe the $100. Now he has to pay $100, and I forget exactly how, it's either 120 or 125. So the question is how to make sure that extra money is paid.
You find a scribe and get a receipt.
Shalom, Ross. Welcome. How you doing?
Good. How is everyone tonight?
I'm all right. I feel I got the stupids tonight. That's good. That's a good thing when I start feeling stupid at the beginning, I'm not sure where we're going to go. I definitely want to get to a Haftorah reading before the evening is over. I'd like to get back on track with doing that. Let's see. A good example we just read was where the law for the proselyte and the Jew are the same, but it makes it very clear, doesn't it? So I guess I'll ask the big question here. We'll go with the big one. I think idolatry is an obvious at this point. I think blasphemy will be an obvious one at this point. When it comes to murder, is murder handled the same for the non-Jew in Torah as it is for the Jew? My answer would be, from what I've looked, and it's only been cursory this week, but in looking back and flipping through, and I personally can't find anything that separates. Now, there's a misconception I think some people have that the law of murder is just that, murder. Some would put a lot more into it. Some would go deeper. But is it really any different for a Jew? I mean, is murder, when a Jew murders, does God see it any differently than when a non-Jew murders? And I mean like the Cain style, waiting and lying in wait and attacking, planning it.
I'd have to think, this is just me, that before a Jew could actually get to murder, he'd have to get past, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. To get past, if you see your brother and his donkey is struggling under a load, you shall help him repeatedly. You'd have to get past that. And then if you can get past repeatedly helping the guy that you don't like, and loving your neighbor as yourself. If he gets past that, he gets to the point of murder. What in the world? Man, that must have been some kind of provocation. And what does that say about the provocateur?
Well, I think it's important at this point to kind of define what murder is in this case, and to distinguish it, if there is any distinguishing it, from killing generally. I mean, obviously all murder is killing, but according to the Torah and according to just basic common sense, not all killing is murder.
Agreed.
So when it comes, go ahead, Bob, please.
I can think of a couple. I mean, my like I said before, my brain isn't totally here today, but I remember two places where they talk about there being a difference, and one is in the area of abortion, where it said that the law of murder is stricter on a Gentile, that the Jewish doctor has a little bit more. There's something I forget the reasoning, but there's something where the Jewish doctor might have a reason to protect in the case of where it can harm the woman, that the Jewish doctor would be preferred over a Gentile doctor as far as doing an abortion, because there's something about the Jewish doctor having an extra commandment or an extra legal thing in that regard. And also in the area of the military, I don't know how this is construed, but apparently the Gentile nations do not have the right to go to war against another nation. I mean, if it's a defensive thing, we could argue it's defensive, but to go to war, whereas the Jewish nation does have, we understand the Jewish nation does have a right to do an expansiveness war. So that's two areas off the top of my head I can think of where there's minute differences.
I really like that. War is forbidden for Gentiles. That would be killing. That would be willful. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Gav's got something going on over here. Let's see. There are two kinds of wars: obligatory defensive wars and optional wars to reclaim parts of Israel currently held by foreigners. But as far as the nations, oh, that is beautiful. I really like that. I mean, Israel's going to take its land back. And these were not savory people who were occupying it. But outside the land, you know.
It can take land back. It's not obligated to. The thing is, and this is, I really piss a lot of people off with this one. I don't really make anyone happy. The honest approach to when it comes to like possession of the land of Israel, you will find religious fanatics who say, Israel cannot cede land to foreigners for any reason. That's not really true. That's not really the case. You can, in fact, cede parts of the land of Israel to foreigners for certain reasons, one of them being peaceful relations. Here's the thing, though. I still oppose doing it because it's proved in our time to be pretty disastrous to do so. It's not practical to give territory over to people that want to kill you. So that's why I oppose it.
You're not selling to the Noahide,
Right, but in theory, there's nothing in halakha that would prohibit the current nation state of Israel to giving Palestinians land for a state. But I think it would be prohibited under other things like not sitting idly by the blood of your neighbor. Don't set up a bastion for barbarians right next to your neighbor's house. So. Just that terminology might be. That's how I think of some of them. Not all of them, but some of them.
Sure.
That'd be like the pig farms next to the mosques.
You can have the land so long as you live with these hillbilly rednecks, pig farmers. Enjoy.
The
Ross,
whole race is 3 times a day.
Ross, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was playing what Gab just said it against. You shall make no covenant with the inhabitants of the land, for it could be a. What? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the Canaanites. Non-Jews can inhabit and even govern parts of the land of Israel. They did in biblical times, parts of the land of Israel, provided
Right.
they're monotheistic and not worshiping idols.
Like Samaritans.
Correct. Absolutely. Samaritans have absolutely no interest in governing, though. They just want to be left alone. There's only about 700 of them left.
Oh, wow. Hello, sweetie. You want to say hi to the camera? You want to say hi to the camera real quick? There she is. She dumped a Jello bowl on her head, so her hair doesn't look that great. That's not right.
Hi.
She's precious.
Hello.
No. I really like that non-Jews are prohibited from war. To save your life. I like that idea. I really do. As much as I support my troops, I mean, when I get a chance to talk to my senators or whatever, I mean, or people who've been over there, I'll ask, how are the troops? How's morale, honey? I got a Bible study, honey. And as supportive as I am, I really am an anti-war guy. It seems like a no-brainer.
It's a pretty easy thing to be against. I mean, or at least it should be. I mean, I don't know anybody. There's a difference in between believing that sometimes under certain circumstances it's necessary and being for it. Even when it's necessary, it's horrible. It's not something anyone should ever relish in.
Mm-hmm. I worry about Strange McCain, or as he's called, John McCain. I worry about him. He's just ready. He's just anxious for it. Boy,
Well, I mean, and what really makes me mad, if politicians want to push for a war, that's fine or whatever. Just be honest about what a war is. Stop trying to couch it in this terminology. Oh, we're spreading freedom or we're doing humanitarian missions. No, war is killing people and breaking their stuff. That's all it is.
Sounds like a Rush Limbaugh line.
I'm going to give you a microphone. When I move over there one day, I'm going to get you on my radio show. They'll fire me.
The difficulty is that we're always able to find excuses that sound rational. And so if we say that we're against war, except to protect ourselves or to protect another person, because that's all in the laws against murder, is that you're allowed to and even sort of compelled to obligated to help another person that's in distress. So we can say, hey, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait and we have to protect the Kuwaitis. And by the way, the Kuwaitis are going to have democratic elections afterwards. They promise. And so then we have a war. And we're always able to find a reason, a logical reason to do it. So that's the hard thing to get through.
Yeah. Oh, it's very easy to find reasons. And to an extent, I think there is a case to be made. I think the one war that America didn't actually fight in, that in my opinion it should have, and during the Clinton years, I think America should have intervened in Rwanda. It had the power to do something. It was a horrible, horrible genocide that was happening there. And no one really intervened to do anything. And I think that's a real shame. I think when there's an actual case to be made that, look, if we don't do this, this is going to happen to this group of people, or this, if it's already happening, this will continue to happen. I think that's justifiable in many cases, but unfortunately, the thing is you can kind of manufacture a case where there is none. I don't think the war in Iraq was particularly justified at all. That's putting it mildly. And most wars, I don't think Vietnam was a particularly justifiable one, nor Korea, but there are some that are. But I mean, that decision's obviously way above me.
Well, going back to the Clinton years, he
Please
won
don't.
Waco. He won Waco.
He didn't win Oklahoma City. Too soon? Never too soon. He did win Waco. He did win Waco. He just didn't win Oklahoma City. Boy, there's a topic I could go on for a few hours.
The guy I know wrote a book about Waco that's really, really good. He's actually a Noahide.
Yes.
His name is Professor Daniel James Tabor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. Was David Koresh a nut job? Absolutely. Was he a threat that justified basically invading a town and laying siege to this compound? No, I think they wanted a big spectacle for the cameras. When I say they, I mean the ATF and the FBI, and it didn't go quite as they had hoped it would, and they were too stubborn to save face. Or that was they were too stubborn, so they had to save face, and they were not open to any particular other avenue of resolving it. And neither were some of the people inside, but it's unfortunate.
It was. Why is your distrust of government? They think you're a nut job. It's like, no, I was there. I was watching it. That was, I was alive when that one happened. I just couldn't, women and children were in there. And they weren't firing back.
Well, I mean, not at first. I mean, the FBI and the ATF fired first, and they killed, I want to say, 2 or 3 people pretty much right away. And then some people inside started firing back, which, it's somewhat understandable.
Sadly.
But, if they really wanted to get David Koresh, they had multiple opportunities when they were surveilling him. He would go into town, for supplies, whatever. They could have pulled him over and taken just him and left everybody else out of it. There were a number of times when he invited people out to that compound from the ATF to inspect their arms and make sure everything was, proper and everything, and they said no. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I blame most of what happened on the government.
The sheriff, they were strange, but they were well behaved, intelligent, polite children. They were, clean and well dressed. They were, these weren't. The thing is, you had people coming from all over the world for this guy, and he was a big Revelation guy, which to me is kind of like watching a heavy metal cartoon. You ever see heavy metal?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's kind of Revelations is a bit cartoony for me.
Well, when you start talking about guns and religion, or you start talking about God and religion and you have guns, people start getting afraid.
The Jim Jones and Guyana thing was still too fresh.
Ruby Ridge.
Yeah. Ruby Ridge was just, they shot the guy's kid. I mean, it's basically a he said, she said thing, like who started that. And then later, when they shot the guy's wife because they thought, I don't know what they thought or whatever, but that was a mess. I mean, and the big thing is the government settled with the guy that survived, and paid him all sorts of millions of dollars. So,
how about theft? This is one that seems pretty universal. I think, when you look at the early history of man, we get some really good basic stuff. We've got blasphemy and theft in the garden. We've got murder in the garden. But theft is like almost primordial. I heard that's the one sin you can't be Okay, I might be going wrong here, but it was like the one sin that God will not forgive you for, or they cannot be justified. There's something special about the law of theft. But when I was looking through Torah, it deals with weights and measures, fake scales, fraud, which when you go in the courts is one of the commandments to at Sinai, which was one of the 10, which was don't bear false witness, which is basically setting up fair and balanced courts of justice right there. I can't find anything different in theft from the Jew and the Gentile. Can anybody name one? We read part of it earlier today in the Parsha.
I'm not 100% sure if the punishment, in theory, for a Noahide, it could be the death penalty, but I don't think it would be.
We hear about we should make restitution and whatnot, but yeah, when you mess up on the Noahide code, it's the death penalty is incumbent on all of it. Is this because when you acknowledge God, you've accepted and you willingly accept the laws on you that you would know restitution was in order, or can a Noahide not make restitution?
No one can make restitution. You always have to make restitution. You have to replace what you stole and give some additional. You have to give a percentage. It's kind of a nice system. Someone steals your car, not only does he have to give it back, he has to pay you some money on top of it.
Well, yeah, that's one thing that was different is and we didn't and as many flaws as it has, I do have the divine code which codifies laws. It's not bad. There's a few. I've seen some things where I tend to go weary in certain areas, but that was when they say the Noahide law, and I've heard it from every rabbi I've ever studied under, says yes, the 7 Noahide laws, the death penalty is incumbent upon all of them. And so that was one of the questions I was going to ask, and I couldn't find it where a Gentile would be, or a non-Jew. I'm not even saying gay or Noahide, but I mean a non-Jew. If you're the Nokri law, is even a theft law, then would you make him restitution, or if you just, how would you do that?
Okay,
you can't pay nothing back, Go ahead.
I have to pick on a point that you mentioned.
Okay.
If you accept upon yourself the Noahide laws, I believe was your statement, right?
Right.
Okay. Noahide laws, Noahide code, whatever. If you accept them upon yourself, wouldn't that be the equivalent of taking a vow?
Well,
you don't really accept the Noahide laws. You're obligated in them up until, you can't be obligated in something you don't know about, but once you've been informed. So there's a principle in Jewish law called the law of what's called a tenuk shenishba, a captive child. If a Jewish child is, say, kidnapped at right around birth by, let's say, Roman Catholics, not picking on them, just the word that popped in my mouth, and this Jewish child is raised Roman Catholic and doesn't even know that they're Jewish, it doesn't know anything about the Torah or whatever, they're not held to account for the sins that they're committing because they don't know any better. I imagine it's the same thing for a Noahide. Most Gentiles don't know what the Noahide laws are.
Exactly.
So so you're obligated in it regardless, but you're only held to account for what you know.
And once you become aware and you know, and you come before a base din, so to speak, wouldn't that be like a vow?
A vow. Definitely.
I don't know if a vow would be the correct term.
Oath?
We will hear and we will do.
Well, a vow is something that's on an object. You know, like if you're vowing to give a lamb to the temple or something.
Well, what about a
But
Nazir?
Well, there's a vow and an oath. There
he's
is
vowing not to touch grapes and dead bodies and that kind of stuff. But I think what you're saying is a person who formally accepts the 7 laws. You know, I mean, the person, everyone in the nations have the 7 laws on them, but then they're reiterated in Torah.
Mhm.
So the person that is accepting the Torah from Sinai, you know, the God gave the law to Moses at Sinai to compel the nations to follow the 7 laws. So the person that accepts it because it's in the Torah, that's a different type of acceptance than just a regular person who has the laws anyway. There's a different relationship to those laws.
true.
So what was the question?
Would going before a bet din be an oath or a vow? You know, where you say I'm not an idolater, and they ask you questions, or they just observe you and they say,
You're
yeah.
talking about being a ger toshav, like in the land, like living in
What?
the land of Israel or living among Jews.
That's what's being spoken of. Yeah, it's something similar to that.
Okay, so would that be a vow? Not really, more of like an oath, like an agreement. You're saying I understand that this is what I'll be obligated in from here on out, and you're agreeing to that. So, and to that extent, it would be considered binding, like from that day forward. Well, it's just like a Ger Tzedek, a convert, someone who's becoming a Jew. Before they go into the mikvah, they're not held to account for violating Shabbat. As soon as they come out, once they're fully aware of it, and of course they're aware at this point. Once they come out, they're a Jew. And of course, you've agreed to it. You're now obligated to it.
So it's almost an oath and a vow. Kind of.
Kind of. Well, I mean, you were talking earlier about the Nazarite. That's a vow too. To become a Nazir, someone who lives a certain kind of aesthetic lifestyle. Oh, by the way, my neighbor is one.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a good guy. A little bit out there. Good guy though. And that's not lashon hara. I say that to his face all the time. Like, you know what, Shmuel, you're a little bit out there. He's like, I know. I'm proud of it. Fair enough. So that's a vow too, and there's a big discussion if whether or not the Nazarite vow only lasts for a year, or if it lasts for your entire life, or if it lasts for some amount of time in between. Maimonides was of the opinion that, like, if you became a Nazarite, and you stopped at that point, you would be sinning. And there are other rabbis that held the opinion that where you could only do it for like a certain amount of time, and then you could give it up. Or it was only for 1 year. So I mean, it kind of depends on who you hold by, but it's considered binding once you take that oath for the period of time that oath is considered to be in effect.
Okay.
I read in the Chumesh that that the vow is for a specific time, and that they can leave.
That's the majority opinion. There's people who are a little bit more machmir, who are a little bit more strict, who say that once you take it on, it should be a permanent thing. I believe the Ramban was one of those, but I'm not 100% sure.
So Ross, you were going to make a point. I hope you haven't forgotten it.
No, I already did. Y'all have discussed it already.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, Bob, go.
Concerning the loss of theft, I know that for the Jew, the fine, the above the cost of the item, if something costs $100, or if a person buys, steals a sheep or whatever it is, and there's an additional amount, that would be like a punishment for the, or be a fine for the person. But the Noahide, because he has the death penalty, that would kind of go ahead. That would be the main punishment for the person, and therefore the lesser punishments, I don't think they would apply. But he would still have to pay the principal, because that's just money owed. But any additional amount, because it's the death penalty, would not apply to him, because you can't have more. Basically it's whatever the main punishment is what's considered the main, the punishment for it. And I'm not sure if it's required that the court always do follow through on the death penalty. There might be ways that it can be postponed indefinitely. The court does have some
mercy,
wiggle room in that area. Yeah, it's not like a mandatory minimum sentence like we have in the United States for things.
Correct. That's how like the Christians interpret it. Like, oh yeah, stone them homosexuals. No, it's not really how it works. In fact, how halakha is set up to bring a death penalty against someone is incredibly difficult. You need two witnesses. The person who's supposed to be condemned needs to have been warned beforehand and still have gone ahead and done it in front of two witnesses anyway. Therefore, I think it's pretty safe to say most sexual crimes in the Torah go pretty much unenforced. Because, you're not going to do that in front of two witnesses, obviously. The witnesses can't be related. They both have to be religious. And when it's brought to the Sanhedrin, if it's unanimous, if every judge on the Sanhedrin says, yeah, kill him, you throw it out. If it's unanimous, it can't be unanimous, because that indicates that not a whole lot of thought went into it. There's a whole lot of things that can disqualify a capital case.
So for theft, we can't really find a dividing line. Theft is theft is theft. I think eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Is universally wrong. Yes.
Yeah. I do know there are differences in the sexual, if you will, or the marital. We can say I think every one of the sexual. I think that's all universal. I think that the whole thing about a Levite can't, who will Levite can marry, and for that matter, that's what makes the ger the fourth house, but not holy. There's nothing holy about ger. Nothing. Holy is Israel, and that's why they can't intermarry. I know that there are. So I think we can say yes, there are differences in marriage laws pertaining to the Jewish people juxtaposed to the marriage laws pertaining to Noahides. So we'll move past that real quick. We don't need to talk about that. Murder, theft, illicit sexual behavior. Here's one I found that was actually a difference, and it took Rabbi Katz 4 classes to get through it. Whenever you hear about a kosher Noahide slaughter, if you will, because I do believe that, I do believe honestly in my heart of hearts, I believe Noah was kosher to the point where he knew what clean and unclean was. And being a prophet, I'm sure he would know what's best for his body if he were to, carry out the command or the allowance for taking the life for food. But the difference is that was explained to me, and he started off with the Jewish side first, which actually kind of made me, I didn't like it at all. I did not like what I was hearing at first. Is that about the leg from a living animal? Where do you draw the line of living animal and limb? In the Jewish slaughter, if it's done properly, you make that incision, and the soul's already left the body. Even when it's convulsing, you can take a hunk of steak off of there and put it on the grill and roast it, and fry and grill it. But with the Noahide,
that's not correct.
That's not correct.
No, we can. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. We can revisit that, but go ahead.
No, I'll qualify it. Then we'll get to the Noahide bit. is that if it's done properly, that spray, that first spray from the neck, is the soul leaving the body of the animal. That was the logic. Whereas the Noahide, it would be the blood would have to be completely separated. It can be pierced, it can be cut. It doesn't have to be a kosher cut. And of course, when you're dealing with human survival, you can't knock a man for hunting to survive in the wilderness. You just can't knock him for that. You can't knock a lion for it, can you? You know.
Okay, concerning the blood, at what point would you say the blood is no longer alive?
I think when we're reading the divine code, it stops all the death throes. It stops all the twitching and all that stuff, and the blood's drained completely.
I don't remember the blood being drained completely. I've always understood it to be the what do you call it? The heart pumping.
Okay.
As being because that's what's living. That's what's, you know, the blood being alive. Blood being alive is when the heart is pumping. When the heart stops pumping, then even if the blood is inside of it, to outside, whatever, it's no longer living blood because the heart stopped beating.
Yeah, I remember that now. I remember now. Thanks.
Correct.
Now, Gav, you were saying something different now. I heard that, and like I said, this is like 7 hours, and I haven't revisited in a while, that if it's done properly, the soul leaves the body immediately. You're saying that I was mistaken in something else I was saying, though.
No, what you said there was correct. But what's you cannot just take, once that first cut is made, you cannot just take meat off the animal and throw it on a grill. It still has to be checked for certain things. An animal can still be non-kosher even after it's slaughtered properly, depending upon how that examination goes. You have to check the internal organs and the lungs for tumors, adhesions, any holes in the lungs, anything that deformities in the organs, that type of thing. So it's still, even once the animal is dead, there's still a little bit of a process. And, the blood has to be drained from the meat. Fat has to be taken, external fat. And I mean, like every drop of fat isn't like nutritional fat. I mean, like external fat that in case the meat can't be eaten, it has to be taken off of it and everything. So before, between slaughter and actually, hitting the grill and, your dinner table, there's actually a few more steps in the process.
Well, yeah, but all those steps refer to, there's a whole myriad of laws for the Jewish kosher laws. But when we're talking about the limb of the living animal, specifically for the sake of the limb of the living animal commandment, a person could, as soon as the Jewish slaughter is done, the certain portion of the esophagus and the windpipe are severed. And I've always wondered about that, because in that description of Jewish slaughter, you don't hear anything about the artery being cut. So that part's always confused me. But at the point that the Jewish slaughter occurs, for the sake of the commandment of not eating the limb of a living animal, for a Jewishly slaughtered, even if the animal is still walking around, it can be eaten. Whereas for if a non-Jew did the slaughter, you have to wait.
Yeah.
So that's the whole question. Now, I mean, you got rabbinic prohibitions and all that would say don't do that.
Well, there's training involved with the Kohen too, or the proper slaughter.
A lot of training.
We couldn't expect
they go
that.
through a lot.
We couldn't expect that for people who were just getting the species to survive,
But because it had something to do with it being a commandment is what makes a difference. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, you're fine. And you're right, James. I mean, in order to survive, you can eat just about anything.
Yeah.
Right in the Torah. This isn't rabbinic or anything. But when the army goes out to battle or whatever, food's not always going to be ready. The Torah, the written Torah, not the oral law, not anything Talmudic or rabbinic, actually makes an allowance. Soldiers can eat basically whatever meat they find. It doesn't have to be kosher or anything. Whatever they need to sustain themselves because of how trying the experience is and everything. So, I mean, you know, like I tell people, God expects a lot, but he doesn't expect the impossible from people.
There's a lot more mercy too. Moving on to Denim, to the law to set up fair and balanced course of justice. People often critics of the seven laws, if you will, and on all sides, whether it's Christian folk or atheist folk, humanist, if you will, they're very upset that in a Jewish court you get 3 judges and 2-3 witnesses, right? In the Noahide law, you only need 1 judge and a witness to put you to death. And it's a misconception, but it's actually very merciful. It sets up and I love Denim. It sets up for the non-Jewish people of the world, not those attached, but just anybody, that you can have justice anytime. So long as there's a third party, you can bring a dispute before God, before the law. I think people often see that as a disadvantage to the Gentile people, the non-Jewish people. But honestly, it's saying that you can have a court of law. It makes it so much easier to hold a court of law, especially when there is a dispute in your community, your clan, or your family, and you want to settle it. It can be done with one man. It can be done because all it takes is one person to have a grievance on the other, and you've already got a fight, at least in the street. The Noahide law. I know when you're living in a community like Jewish people tend to do, you don't find too many country bumpkin Jews out in the living. It's just you find them more. They're very communal. They've always, right. I mean, I'm speaking like I am one. Deb, if I speak wrong, very communal people. You would expect to have I don't want to say a higher standard. You would expect a more complicated, more in a community, in a bunch of people. But take people who live in co-ops out in out in the Midwest, or people who in Canada, way out. You can still have a court. You don't have to. There's even in the most barren of times, there can still be a court under God's jurisdiction, if you will. I know that's a big difference, but I honestly think it's just a matter of the most merciful thing you could put on anybody in the world.
How is that a difference?
I'm sorry?
How is it a difference?
In having a tribunal, you've got an argument. In a tribunal, you at least have the possibility of one naysayer. With one judge, I think more rests on one man's shoulder or woman's shoulders. Having 3 witnesses juxtaposed to one, I don't think there's difference, but I'm already into the Torah. I'm already kind of there, in ways. The settler or the pioneer might not be, or one way out who lives beyond where the buses don't run. A compound. We were talking about a compound earlier. I don't see the difference, but I think that would be one difference is that you would have an argument in the judicial aspect of it, in the head of the court, and it would take a community to bring them before. I don't want to say community, but 2 witnesses, 3 witnesses juxtaposed to one to bring a case before the court. Much more communal. We don't expect the non-Jews or the Torah or the law, the Noahide law apparently doesn't expect everybody to live in the same communal standard that the Jewish people would live. What if you're like Avraham and you say, boy, this place is just rotten. I'm getting out of here, You get you and your family and your clan, you move somewhere else. It's happened. It's historical. It happens, there's a difference, I think. But if you're a Noahide and you're already involved in this, I think that you would strive. Because see, if you're Ger Toshav, you wouldn't be taken to a Noahide court. You'd be pulled into a tribunal. You know, if you're living amongst these people, if you're living amongst Israel, and you know, you commit a crime or accused of committing a crime, they're not going to have a separate court for you. They're going to take you to their court, and you will stand by their judgment. Which is the other thing I was going to bring up. Would you say that a Jewish court system is more merciful? Is it something we should strive for? Like the kosher law. Obviously, Noah knew how to properly kosher slaughter an animal because God accepted his offering. It saved humanity. It was that good of an offering. He knew how to do it. Shem obviously knew how to do it. Abraham obviously knew how to do it. God didn't even need to mention, as I read, if I read correctly, the Genesis, he doesn't say, go slaughter, you know, this, and this, as I have shown you. He didn't need to say that. Apparently back then it was just do this, and Abraham knew. There seemed to be, we could argue when we get into Egypt, did Moses need to show the people how to do it properly? Had they forgotten at that time? But at least, you know, for the non-Jewish people, they're at least we started out knowing the proper way to treat animals. I'm wondering if that would be something to aspire to, the tribunal, juxtaposed to a single judge. I mean, here we have a jury. That's also something else. It's kind of unheard of in justice in the past. We have a jury in the States. What a jury of peers. I mean, is there any more merciful court than that? So is it something that the non-Jews should aspire to? I know we're not prohibited from a tribunal, but when looking at the court system, it would seem the Jewish court system would seem to be far more attractive to a non-Jew. What say y'all? Anybody? Am I off? Does it seem more merciful to you? Does the Noahide court seem more severe? We always hear about the death penalty, one judge and a witness, and you know, I have to tell people, no one goes to the death penalty based on somebody else's words. There has to be some evidence. There has to be something there. You don't just kill somebody because you're brought to court. That's how we do things in America. In America, if you're not rich, you're guilty. End of story. You're very rarely ever going to be found not guilty of a crime.
Unless you're Kathy Griffin.
What?
The Kathy Griffin thing. Ouch. You know, was it wrong what she did?
I have no idea who this person is. I've just seen these memes recently with somebody with a doll head. I mean, who is this person? Did this person exist a week ago?
She was very funny in the 90s. Actually, she's quite a funny comedian in her day. And she's made a lot of her money going to the demographic of the LGBT and all those who are, you know, in that genre. So she's made her living by appealing to that crowd. That's, I'd say, in the past decade, 15 years maybe. Used to be a very fun, and I'm sure she is a funny lady. What she did was not funny. That was like, oh, good grief.
Correct. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Was it appropriate? No. Was it right for CNN to fire her? Yeah, I think it was. But absolutely was wrong. But I mean, there was this backlash from a lot of people I saw on the internet, you know, left of center people, which in some cases, I guess I'd consider myself there in certain ways. But this backlash, like, oh, where were you people? You know, when people were burning Obama in effigy and stuff, like, okay, great. Yeah, I agree. That's wrong too. You know, burning people in effigy and, you know, making mock-up designs of people's heads and mock killing them isn't funny, regardless of who you are, who it is you're mock killing. That being said, no one actually died. Can we all move past it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's and you know, Julie Borowski was right when she said, you know, we should be thankful to live in a country that allows that. You can say what you want, doesn't mean there won't be consequences, but you know, if she can do that and it be a really bad joke that backfired on her, we can do good with that power. We can do good with that right. We have that here. So what do y'all say? Is there a merciful end to the Jewish court system compared to a base 7 law, a Noahide court system? Would y'all say it's more merciful?
Yeah.
You would, Rosalie?
Absolutely.
What makes it more merciful? Besides what God, yes, because God said so. End of story. What makes it is it being closer to Hashem? Is it?
They value life more.
It's the Jewish court system and the way justice works is designed to give the defendant as most opportunities to get off easier as possible, while still maintaining the threat of very severe consequences, including death. Whereas the Noahide, just the basic Noahide understanding, I'm not talking about the Ger Toshav. A Ger Toshav living in the land of Israel in a Jewish community would be brought before a Jewish court. It would not go before a separate court. Like a Noahide living in Canada, it's a little bit different, obviously, but no, I mean, a Noahide justice is not as merciful. It is designed to be a little bit more severe. And the reasons for that are complicated, and they're a little bit touchy too. And I don't really like talking about them. I had to give this talk to my students. Hashem and the Torah views all human life as having value. It does not view all human life as having equal value. And people, this is where anti-Semites love this stuff. A Jew is considered to have more value than a Noahide. A Noahide has more value than a Nochri, than a pagan or a heathen or whatever. And I'll give you an example. This is where I always come back to, though. The Jewish heretic is considered the lowest. Is considered the lowest priority of human life. A Nochri, even though he's a Nochri, you cannot proactively just kill him for being a Nochri in Jewish law. He has to be trying to kill you or take over the land of Israel or something like that. He has to be doing something in order to justify killing him. A Jewish heretic, it's in Chilkot Mamrim, the laws of people who rebel. Maimonides spells out very clearly. A Jew that walks around saying, oh, there is no halakha, there is no Torah, there is no justice or whatever, there is no obligation to follow the elders or anything. That person, that Jewish heretic, that Jewish rebel, you're obligated to kill immediately with no court and no witnesses. And it's not considered murder at all.
Ooh.
You can even post that here. Give me a second.
Wow. Wikipedia think we have it bad? Wikipedia loves the death penalty in Noahide code.
Yeah, but I mean, so yeah, are some is the law harsh for some? Is it harsher for some people than it is for others? Yes, but it's harsher on the Jew that goes astray than it is on anybody else.
With the meaning of when you're blessed, you'll be twice as blessed, but when you screw up, you're going to be twice as punished.
The higher your level of obligation in the Torah is considered more. So, for example, a Kohen is considered more valuable than just an Israelite, just a plain Jew. A man is considered more valuable than a woman or a child, even, because they're not obligated in as much.
So that's basically just the law, though. That's
Long shots.
okay. Hang on. Okay. So really, it depends on your juxtaposition to the Holy of Holies. but God does provide an out. There can be justice anywhere. Okay, we've got some different. We've got some differences in murder, and I think you just brought that up too, Gav. We've got no difference in theft. Really, no difference in sexual relations.
You skipped over the sexual relations. There are differences.
Well, when it comes to like inter-tribal marriages, that sort of thing, or for who the
No,
legal
about which close relatives are permitted or prohibited. There's also differences as to the definition of marriage, because a Jew has a there's more complex about the marriage, whereas the Gentile doesn't have the complexities in their marriage.
Well, there's no a Noahide, you can have sex and marry her. Not the same in okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is kind of the same, because a Jew could have sex with a Jewish woman. That's considered a way of marrying someone. It's not really done that way. There's 3 ways you can marry someone. By writing them, a marriage document, which is something we do. By giving them something of value, which is like the wedding ring, and sexual relations. There's 3 ways you can marry someone.
Yeah.
Shalom, Yochanan.
Would all 3 of those require a get?
I'm glad I made it in. Yom Tov just ended, so I couldn't get on. Just came home. So how's everyone?
We're doing all right.
Now I can't hear you for some reason. Can you hear me? You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
They're talking sex.
Sweet. I'll be right back.
Takes them off. Sorry. I told you that's why he wouldn't be here on time.
You know me. I'm
called that
right. You know me. I'm Mr.
No, I told him that you were waiting for Shavuot to get done.
Okay.
And it wasn't sundown yet. So
let me catch you up, John. Sex, yes, yeah, marriage. Okay, the theme of the topic tonight is Jewish law versus non-Jewish law. What is universal? Where do we differentiate? And Gav, Bob brought up that there are differences, particularly technically, and in the different, how a Jewish marriage, and Gav was talking about there are 3 different ways that you can be married in Judaism. One is by writ. Go, Gav.
You can do a what's called a ketubah, which is a marriage document. You can marry a woman by giving her something of value with the understanding that when she accepts it, that she's now your wife. This would be like a wedding ring. And the third is sexual relations. You have sex with someone, you're considered married to them to a certain extent. And then all 3 of those can only be dissolved by a get or a formal divorce. For a Noahide, I think the only thing that's required is the third one.
It's so funny because some of these Reconstructionist Jews or Reform Jews, conservative Jews, they Americanize it. They make the weddings American and goyish, and they do it where they say the vows. But what's funny about it, Gabriel's going to get what I'm going with this, is that the man gives the wife the ring, right? But then the wife also gives the ring to the guy.
Man.
It cancels.
Well, no, in traditional Orthodox Judaism, the man does not get a ring. My wife never gave me a ring. I don't have a wedding ring. My wife gave me, in the Ashkenazi tradition, you don't wear a talus, the prayer shawl, until you get married. That was my wedding gift from my wife. My wife bought me a prayer shawl, which now of course I'm obligated to wear. But it's, but no, I mean the man does not traditionally get a ring.
You're basically null and voiding the whole ceremony. Basically, from anyway, it is what it is. That sounds good. Sounds good. I just spoke. You know what? My I guess maybe I did something right. Maybe it clicked with my rabbi's head. But maybe the marriage ceremony and Shavuot went through well. I guess good news. Tomorrow is going to be the big day.
Tomorrow.
Ah,
Hey.
Mazel tov. So you're going tomorrow.
We're gonna go to the mikveh tomorrow.
Excellent, excellent,
Yay.
excellent. What name are you choosing?
I guess I'm gonna go with Yohanan. Everyone loves that name, right? Everyone. I mean, that's what people know me by. I like it. I prefer it.
Okay.
I
And
think it's a good name.
your second name?
I get a second name.
Yeah, so it's like my full name. It's your first name, a second name, and then the son of, and then your father's first and second name. So my full Hebrew name is Gavriel Yitzhak ben Avraham Moshe HaSofer. So yeah, you have two Hebrew names. But you need to think about it. Choose wisely. It's only forever.
Sweet, beautiful, good. I'm glad. I'm glad someone mentioned that to me tonight. At least I have more than just 5 seconds to think about that.
Yeah.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Full member of the tribe. Better than J-Dubs. I like J-Dubs better than Yohanan, but it just doesn't have that ring. You know?
Yeah, I guess it'd be Y Dubs. I don't know what it'd be. You know, Y Dubs. Why? Oh, so how did the hangout go?
We're talking. We're if you want.
Sorry, I still had to. It's why. So go into like Johan and Abraham. That way you go Yadubs.
Well, Avraham would be my wouldn't I be Ben Avraham since I'm a convert? Real biological father would no longer be my biologically speaking, he'd be my father, but spiritually, Avraham would be my father since he's Father Avraham. Or am I wrong? I don't know. I don't know. See, that's what I always thought. I just
No, you're correct. So you would be Yochanan, whatever the second name you choose, Ben Avraham Avinu. You know, you'd be Yochanan, the son of Abraham, our father.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So, John, in reference to the topic tonight, I was going through the 7 laws. I think we can put idolatry aside, or I put it aside. I put blasphemy aside as well, because of the idolatry law. But we went through murder. We can't find a difference, really. We can't find much of a difference or any difference in theft at all. In fact, I think that one was pretty much clear.
You mean the context between halacha for a Yid and for a Gentile?
For the Noahide, the Noahide in Central America juxtaposed. Now, and I'm not asking necessarily for the Ger Toshav, but I'm asking for the Noahide. I'm under the impression that the 7 laws are woven throughout the Torah, that they're not just a 9-chapter Genesis thing. I'm under the impression that the way God handles when you're looking at how a priest is supposed to dress himself every day, okay, definitely a Jewish law, definitely hardcore Israelite. Noahide, it's nice to know what we're but that's it. We don't need that. But when we deal with theft, murder, illicit sexual behavior, I'm under the impression, and that's why I'm trying out on everybody. And is it the same when we look at theft in the Torah, the Chumesh? I'll just go there because I'm a big fan of the Chumesh. When we look at the Chumesh, do we see a difference in how a non-Jew would be, or can a non-Jew look at the Torah and find the laws of theft? Anytime God talks about theft, he's talking about universal law. Anytime he talks about murder, it's a universal subject. Illicit sexual behavior. Obviously with Noah, I think in context we know that Jews are much more. Bob brought this up. They're the first cousin, maybe even the daughter of a father. And when you need to be a progenitor to the human race, there might be some options where things could happen. But the Jewish people, we are in the Torah, we see a much greater separation, not than just first cousin. Kissing cousins work different in those areas. Limb of a living animal. We went through that. I was wondering, have you any differences in how it's handled for a yid juxtaposed to the Noahide? The Akum Noahide, or not the Akum. If we were to walk into a town and they're having, and they needed help, and we were to prescribe a law, we were to look in the Torah, what would we find for them, kind of a thing. Any differences that you can, off the top of your head, find in the base 7 and halacha?
I mean, that's a big question. Off the top of my head, the only thing I can think about are sure, the laws pertaining to the Cohen would definitely be something that you wouldn't teach the nations, right?
Not universal.
It's not universal, yeah. The only other ones are I would say the basic things like a Brit Milah maybe, and maybe tefillin, but not necessarily found in Torah. So it's kind of an interesting question. It's kind of an interesting question because when you straight up look at the Torah, it seems very universal, doesn't it? I mean, to me, it just seems like a basic moral code that you would just grasp to, which I always have. I mean, I always levitated towards Torah. So, but then again, I don't know. Then you're talking to someone who's meshuggah enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Ger Tzedek. You are probably the only Ger Tzedek who's ever graced the Nexus.
That's actually, you know what? That's actually a very profound question. Give me a couple minutes to think on that.
Okay.
Forget 7 after tomorrow. You have 6:13, buddy.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't talk about 7 to Yohanan.
Oh, good. All I have to say to that is good.
We should have the equivalency of a bachelor's party, and we'll try to talk you out of it.
Oh, wow.
I was thinking more along the lines of a birthday party.
We have to get him drunk first, so if he says, I don't want to do this, he'll be too drunk to remember it the next day.
Well, you'd have a birthday party for him next week.
Can't talk me out of it. 2 years strong, man. 2 years. It's like AA. I'm a recovering goy.
This will require a drink, I believe. I have a bottle of scotch I think is just right for this occasion. Give me 1 second. Whatever you have there. I mean, this requires a toast. This is absolutely important.
Okay. Well then, everybody go get a libation.
All right, I'm getting a libation. Hang on. I got awesome.
Thank you. Mazda. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be anything. I don't know. I mean, I think there, might be something coming up. Maybe if I'll talk to some of the big makas in my temple if they want to sponsor maybe a big thing. Something equivalent to like a bar mitzvah. Obviously I missed out on that, but something similar. I mean, I would love. Like I told Idol Smash a couple of times, man. I would try to convince my rabbi to fly you out.
I'd come.
I would too. And after tomorrow, you will be eligible to be called up to the Torah for an aliyah, to read from the Torah, to say the blessings and everything. That will be your bar mitzvah. How old are you?
I'm 29.
So, okay. At 29 years of age, you'll be bar mitzvah.
Not so bad. Not so bad. Good.
You're not in labor. Knock it off.
I'm not in labor, no.
It's a boy. Get over it. Like I said, a birthday party. It's a birthday party.
Yeah, it's a boy. Yeah.
That's with a B and not a G. Okay.
Yeah, that would be rough with the balloons. It's a goy. No.
I'm sorry, John. Sorry, Jim.
It's all right. It's all right.
Hey, take your last bit of abuse. Do how we got it. At least we're nice about it.
I'm not a big fan of that word. You know that I don't. They're all in good fun.
Great. All right, I got my bottle of Sambuca.
I don't have anything here. I don't.
Well, we're drinking to you. So hey.
Well, I should participate, but.
Okay. Yochanan. Wow, my brain just went. Wonder how that happens. We wish you all the best. We wish you that you find your beshert very, very soon. We find a good wife for you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
We wish for you parnasa. We wish for you a good livelihood and a lifetime of masim tovim, good deeds. Chaim.
Chaim.
Thank you. I wish you all the same thing, all good things, always good thing. Thank you. God is truly good. You know, God is truly good.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be here today. I kind of, I always kind of joke with James, with him starting the whole gear movement, bringing that whole thing in here, I said it sparked something in me. I jumped ship. I think I said that to you. I was like, you know what? And then like soon after I was going looking around. I went to different temples. I found Chabad. I also go to the Persian shul sometimes, the Sephardic one. That's a nice one. And if it wasn't for you, James, all good things. Like I said, it's thank you. You led me down here. It wasn't for you. It wasn't for Reuven. He hates that. Reuven hates it a little bit because he's a yid himself, and he should be going to temple. But that's okay. We love him anyway. It wasn't for Bob, educating me, bringing his knowledge here, Rabbi. Thank you. Of course, couldn't do it here without you, Rosalie. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you as well.
You were the first Noahide I met.
That's right.
I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, I was online and I entered Brett Keene's room for the first time. And Brett's like, oh yeah, there's J-Dubs. He's Noahide too. What? And you're like, yeah. Hey, dude. I never met a Noahide on the street before, That's awesome. Many blessings, amigo. And yeah, come teach us Gentiles a few things. Oi, not Gentile. That's terrible. I shouldn't use that word. Bad boy. Good boy. Teach us Noahide Ger a few things.
This is the part where we all go dark room, lights dim the light, and rhythmically dance in a circle shouting, one of us, one of us.
Stop! Now that it's going to be conspiracy theory tomorrow. that.
You got to tell Ross.
Style. I'm kidding. That was terrible.
I finally get my box of matzah with the Christian blood baked into it, right?
Oh.
Isn't that what they say? Isn't that like a thing?
No. You're kidding me? Tomorrow, you think you're going to the mikvah? They're actually going to bake you into some matzah. That's how this works. This is how we kidnap people. This is how we do it.
It's like the episode of Goodfellas where Joe Pesci thinks he's going to be a made man. Yeah, come down to the house. We're making you a made man. And then they turn him and they turn around. He turns around right to the back of the head. You ever see that? You ever see that movie, Jay?
Yes.
Yeah, you come down. Yeah, today's your day. Come down. Come on. You never see him again.
Okay, let's go for a ride. Hey, just go for a ride. Ross, we just toasted Yochanan John here. He's will be a member of the tribe tomorrow.
Well, congratulations.
Amen.
I lost internet connection there for a bit.
Oh, wondered. Let's read Parsha Haftorah Naso, shall we? What do you get around to the Nazarite?
I did want to mention with the laws and all that.
Yes, sir.
One area that the laws, the way they're usually learned out, are from different verses. So even if it's something like the prohibition against murder, they're learned out from different verses in the Bible. So there are differences that are between the Jew and the non-Jew based upon where it's learned out in the Bible. Also, the nations have, and this is something we were learning this last month on our Thursday class. Rabbi Kasher, who did the Encyclopedia of the Pentateuch in Mishpatim, he's explaining that he's probing the question: should the non-Jews learn their mitzvah? Should they learn the Mishpatim, the civil laws, the basic laws, from the Bible, or should they figure it out for themselves? He basically says that each nation should figure it out for themselves what makes sense for their nation. That they have the 7 laws, but beyond the bare bones of the 7 laws, they should learn everything for what makes sense for their nation. Now, I'm not saying that I would really, there's other ways of looking at it, but that's one way of looking at it is to this whole question of the question you've been asking. Yeah.
If there's one thing I've learned tonight, there's a lot more mercy than I think we give the whole thing credit for. Non-Jew and Jew alike. I would hope to bring more people closer to Torah, and not a halacha, but I would hope to bring them closer to Torah, because we're there. Us folk, human, we're here. It is for us. It's for the world, and it will make us better. It will make us better. A lot more merciful than I think we might be given credit for as Noahide, Garam folk. For those of you who are watching at home, well, we've had a few people tonight, which is nice. I didn't state this in the beginning, which I usually always do. It's Numbers, Bamidbar. We're going from chapter 4, verse 21, and it ends on chapter 7, verse 89. That's the section of the reading in which for this week's Parsha. But we're going to move on over now to what is usually our weekly reading of the Haftorah. If you're tuning in for the first time and do not know, the Haftorah is a section of the Hebrew Bible that directly pertains to the part of the portion, the Parsha portion of the Torah that we've been reading today, Naso, which in the Stone Edition Chumesh is page 1181. And we're going to flip over to that because I have my bookmark in. The Haftorah reading is Judges 13, verses 2 through 25. So I'm going to read out of the Stone Edition Chumesh. I have two other Chumashes here. I've been kind of flipping through the Gutnik, which is really cool, but I'm getting on it. I keep it here because as my secondary source. When Pam is here, she takes that Cincino, that old Hertz, which is another great.
Well,
it just
what's
gets you a
the number
Chumash.
again?
Okay. Yes, we are. This is if you've got the 5-book Chumash and not the Tanakh. It's page 1181. It is Judges 13. We're going to read verse 2 through 25, and away we go. There's a certain man of Zorah, of the Danite family, whose name was Manoah. His wife was barren and had not given birth. An angel of God appeared to the woman and said to her, "Behold, you are barren and have not given birth, but you shall conceive and give birth to a son. Now be careful, do not drink wine or intoxicant, do not eat anything prohibited to a Nazirite," or prohibited, but in parentheses. "For you shall conceive and give birth to a son. A razor shall not come upon his forehead, for the lad shall be a Nazirite of God from the womb, and he will begin to save Israel from the land of the Philistines." I knew we should have talked about that Nazirite earlier. The woman came and told her husband, saying, "A man of God came to me, and his appearance was like the appearance of an angel of God. Very awesome. I did not ask him where he was, for he did not tell me his name. He said to me, 'Behold, you shall conceive and give birth to a son, and now do not drink wine or intoxicant, do not eat anything prohibited to a Nazirite, for the lad shall be a Nazirite of God from the womb until the day of his death.' Manoah prayed to Hashem and said, 'Please, my Lord, may the man of God whom you sent come now again to us and teach us what we should do to the lad who will be born.' God heeded the call of Manoah, and the angel of God came again to the woman when she was sitting in the field, but Manoah, her husband, was not with her. The woman hastened and ran and told her husband, and she said to him, 'Behold, the man who came to me that day appeared to me.' Manoah stood up and went after his wife. He came to the man and said to him, 'Are you the man who spoke to the woman?' He said, 'I am.' Manoah said, 'Now your words shall come true. What should be the conduct of the lad and his behavior?' The angel of God said to Manoah, 'Of everything that I spoke to the woman, let her beware. Of anything that comes from the grapevine, she shall not eat. Wine or intoxicant, she shall not drink. And anything prohibited to a Nazirite, she shall not eat, not drink, and everything I had,'" okay, I'm going to start that sentence again. "Of anything that comes from the grapevine, she shall not eat. Wine or intoxicant, she shall not drink. And anything prohibited to a Nazirite, she shall not eat. Everything that I commanded her, she shall observe." Manoah said to the angel of Hashem, "Please let us detain you, and we shall prepare for you a kid of the goats." The angel of Hashem said to Manoah, "If you detain me, I shall not eat from your blood. But if you would bring up an elevation offering, bring it up to Hashem." For Manoah did not know that he was an angel of Hashem. Manoah said to the angel of Hashem, "What is your name, so that when your words come about, we may honor you?" The angel of Hashem said to him, "Why is it that you ask for my name? It is hidden. Manoah took the kid of the goats and the meal offering and brought them up upon the rock to Hashem, and he, the angel, performed a miracle as Manoah and his wife watched. It happened that as the flame rose up from atop the altar toward the heavens, the angel of Hashem went up in the flame of the altar. Manoah and his wife were watching, and they fell upon their faces to the ground. The angel of Hashem did not continue any more to appear to Manoah and his wife. Then Manoah realized that he was an angel of Hashem. So Manoah said to his wife, "We shall surely die, for we have seen a godly angel." His wife said to him, "Had Hashem wanted to put us to death, he would have accepted from our hand he would not have accepted from our hand an elevation offering and a meal offering, nor would he have shown us all this, nor would he have let us hear such news at this time." The woman gave birth to a son, and she called his name Samson. The lad grew, and Hashem blessed him. The spirit of Hashem began to resound in the camp of Dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. Samson is definitely like the Jewish superhero. I kid. No, I don't kid when I say that. He really was. So our Haftorah, its relation to our Torah, deals with the Nazarite. In fact, since I'm here and I've got all of you captive, I want to read the section of the Torah that deals with the Nazarite, if I may make so bold. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, a man or woman who shall disassociate himself by taking a Nazarite vow of abstinence for the sake of Hashem, from new or aged wine shall he abstain, and shall he not drink vinegar of wine or vinegar of aged wine. Anything in which grapes have been steeped shall he not drink, and fresh and dried grapes he shall not eat. All the days of his abstinence, anything made from the wine, grapes, even the pips of skin, he shall not eat. All the days of his Nazarite vow, a razor shall not pass over his head until the completion of the days until the completion of the days that he will be a Nazarite. Holy shall he be. The growth of hair on his head shall grow. All the days of his abstinence for the sake of Hashem shall not come near a dead person, to his father or to his mother, to his brother or to his sister. He shall not contaminate himself to them upon their death. For the crown of his God is upon his head. All the days of his abstinence he is holy to Hashem. Samson was awesome, and I was kind of peeking at the camera while I was reading it. I'm not sure if only Noah Hides would get it. Wait a minute, where was I? I just dropped it. An angel of God appeared to the woman and said to her, "Behold, you are barren and have not given birth, but you shall conceive and give birth to a son." Where have we heard this before?
Yeah.
Now know that it's nothing new.
Avraham and Sarah?
Jebus.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Yeah. Now you know where they got it from. Haftorah's Naso.
Except in the book of Judges, the father is the husband. That's a major difference.
Yeah, yes. Well, okay. Well,
Otherwise, yeah, it definitely sounds like a same story. You got the Book of Luke that
yeah,
somebody comes to the lady. Yeah,
yeah.
makes a proclamation.
Your video on the Hologoy channel was that deals with that. It deals with Mary was brilliant. Dude, I know. You laughed at that when I said that before. I know you, but dude, that was brilliant. It really was. I guess this is a good place to end the live portion of the broadcast tonight. Anybody have anything they want to share before we bring the dancing girls in and have fun? I'm kidding. Okay, we do this every week here on the Noah Hyde Nexus, the Thursday night round table Torah discussion. If you like what you see, you want to join in, email me at jamestheidolsmasher@gmail.com. I'll get you on the mailing list on the Google Plus side. If you're on Facebook, like the Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, and you'll get notifications as to the link for the hangout each week. On behalf of everybody, Rabbi Kostanov is coming back, and Bob and Yochanan, Ross, Rosalie, and myself. Shabbat Shalom, y'all.
Shalom.